And there we are. Yay. We're live. Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Minor tech hiccup earlier, so we didn't go live. But we're here now. So I'm Lorraine, and this is Gemma. We're from Formula Botanica. And today we're going to talk up to you about audio branding. And you may well say, what's audio branding? And Gemma's going to tell us all about it, because yesterday she attended a workshop on this whole topic, and I think it's so relevant that we wanted to share it with you straight away. So over to you, Gemma. What is audio branding? Give us the definition in a nutshell.
Well, it's about sound that's associated with your brand. So obviously we at the moment think of branding as a really, really visual thing. But the talk that I attended yesterday, it was an event with cosmetic executive women, was thinking about how sound is associated with your brand. And the talk brought up lots of different things that I hadn't really thought about, because this whole kind of technology around sound is still quite innovative. So when I signed up for the event and I said, Lorraine, I want to attend this, and I read the kind of blurb about what it was about, in my head I was thinking podcasts, because that's what I'm associating with audio at the moment. And as people know, we've got a podcast. If you didn't know, it's called Green Beauty Conversations, and it's in iTunes and Stitcher, and on our website, formulabotanica.com/blog, and you can find all the stuff there. And they were talking, the way I was thinking it was going to go is about how to think about your branding in relation to podcasts, because as we know, there have been successful brands who have done really good podcasts and have brought out who they are through talking about things via podcasts. But this was talking about something different. So they were talking about audio content as is being consumed on devices. So obviously our phones can stream audio like radio, podcasts, etc. And they were talking about kind of more innovative ways. So and forgive me for my ignorance in this area, because I'm not au fait with all of this new stuff.
Nor am I. Just go with it.
But the things like Alexa, and I think it's an Echo Dot.
Yes.
So those devices are increasingly, you can customize them to hear things that you really want to hear. So I know, Lorraine, you were telling me about someone that has started recording daily digests.
Yes, my friend Sigrun, she's just started doing these daily briefings first thing in the morning, and she's way ahead of the curve. She's always way ahead of the curve. So in the morning, you turn your Amazon Alexa on, and can I just say that I'm really annoyed that they chose the name Alexa, because that's my middle name. So I think I should have the patent on that. But anyway, it's Lorraine Alexa, not Amazon Alexa. And so you turn your Alexa on, and then it goes, "Good morning, Lorraine. The weather this morning in Dorset is blah, blah. And here are the 3 main news stories, blah, blah. And here are the daily briefings you've signed up for." So you can now hear Sigrun first thing in the morning with her business briefings. And obviously that's really powerful, because you can set it almost to wake you up first thing in the morning. So you can hear Sigrun the moment you wake up, you lift your head off the pillow, and there's, business advice being given to you. So that's really cool.
So this is what they were talking about, is those sorts of things. So whether you want to be, people can subscribe to your daily digest, and how you can relate to people via sound. So they were talking about all the different kind of emotions that sound evokes that visuals can't evoke in the same way. And they reference loads of sort of studies and things. I don't have references to those studies right now. But I was really sucked in by this, because I was like, ooh, I hadn't thought about this at all. And what they were saying is that this is still kind of like in its infancy. So there's lots of experimentation that you can do. And during the talk, they played us different adverts and things. So as well as like having a daily digest that you can subscribe to get, not everyone is going to be able to do that, because like brands, for instance, might not have a daily digest in the same way as a business advisor might. Yeah. But what they were saying is that in amongst those daily digests, you can advertise your products or brand
Wow.
So they were saying, how do you do that via audio now? Most of us in our lifetime have listened to the radio and heard adverts, and some of them are good, some of them are not so good. But they played us this one where, because they were questioning us, and they said, how would you advertise color with a voice? And I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. So you had to put on these headphones, which was really cool. And it was talking about the color red and relating it to a hair dye. So this would have been a company that sells hair dye products. And so it was two friends talking, and, they were like, oh, I'm thinking of dyeing my hair red. What do you think of that? And then, it went on to this kind of emotional talk about, the color red. So it suddenly went, I don't know how I feel about red, but I know how I feel about cherries and eating them in summer. I know how I feel about sitting in front of a warm campfire. I know when I went to China and saw this parade, so suddenly you're taken on this journey through red, and you're really into it. Like I got really wrapped into it. And then at the end, the product is obviously like, so if you're thinking of dyeing your hair, you could buy these products. And you're like, oh, okay. And it does really suck you in a way that visuals can't. And so there's a lot of opportunities for brands to think about sound and evoking emotion in relation to sound, and using these new mediums in an innovative way. So I have some statistics and things.
Ooh, yeah.
Did you want to ask me a question?
No, I just wanted to see how a small brand could really embrace something like this, because obviously you have to really think outside the box. And I can imagine that, the big brands have the budgets, they've got the people. If you're not that tech savvy, how can you get prepared for something like this?
That's an interesting question. So what they put forward at the moment is that you should start experimenting with different sounds. So like for a visual brand, you would, you can see those lovely green leaves behind you. So we would do like a mood board for color. And, you're thinking about that, you're branding, like, I want to have a brand that evokes, emotions about fruit or superfood. So you have a certain branding associated with that. So they're saying, think about sounds that go along with that. Think about that, and they said, you can use loads of different like search engines to get, we've used them before. I forget what they're called. Like, we can get like snippets of sound.
Yeah, I mean, I can think, because obviously Formula Botanica's branding is all green and luscious and botanical, and you can think about the rustling of the leaves in the tree and the wind blowing through the fields, and the petals sort of opening up. And
So this is what they're encouraging you to think about. Yeah. Figure out how some sort of sound would match your brand, and then look at the different avenues for advertising your brand via sound that's not being used so much at the moment. So obviously radio, you might need a bigger budget for, but there's other avenues like with Alexa and Echo Dot and stuff that you could quite easily customize your adverts to fit in with those devices. So what they were saying is, and I'm going to read a couple of statistics that I made some notes yesterday, and they said that around 25 million people stream audio each week.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. 12.2 million are streaming music, 11.9 million stream radio. Streaming on devices can tell you a lot about your audience. So they were saying, like, for instance, I'm based in London, and so the adverts that I'm hearing would be customized to kind of London climate, London lifestyle kind of thing. And for instance, if you were a skincare brand that was, say, had an anti-pollution range, you could be like, while I've got my Alexa on, suddenly an advert could pop up and say, hey, have you thought about, some sort of London noise, and you're a busy city girl, you're in the city walking around, have you thought about XYZ? And you would have a chance to customize your advert to an audience that is experiencing the kind of stuff that your skincare is targeting. They can also break down demographics by age, by location, by key times. So for instance, they had narrowed down, I think it was like audio is a great companion, they said. So they found that people listen really a lot in the morning, like lunchtime, when people are getting home from school. So, and then like in the evenings, so if you're using it while they're cooking, doing different things. So you have a chance to basically get in people's minds what your product offers at a time that they might want to use it. So for instance, if you're thinking like you've got a really cool face mask, and you can see people of a certain demographic or your target audience are online at 7 o'clock, you could just, you know, in the evening, you could just say, wouldn't it be nice to have a nice, relaxing face mask right now? And it really gets into people's heads and thinking, yes, I would like that right now. And then there you are with information of how they can buy that product, where they can buy it. And obviously, you know, people can go onto their laptop, their phone straight away, order it. Yep. You know, you've got services like Amazon Prime and stuff. You can get it the next day if you're on Amazon, but you know, loads of other places do next day delivery.
That's so clever, because so many of us rely on print advertising.
Yeah.
So many of us rely, particularly if we sell online, we rely on digital advertising, which is still reading, isn't it? And even because, I mean, obviously we advertise quite a lot and we use video, but Facebook automatically mutes all of our videos in adverts. So I have them all subtitled. So you're still reading, even though you can see me moving, there's no audio with it. So this is genius, really. And of course, I would imagine that all of these home voice controlled devices are only going to explode really in usage and in sales in the coming years.
Yeah, I mean, it says it's the largest, it's the best way to get in front of hard to reach millennials.
Okay.
Because, and we've talked about this before, because Lorraine doesn't really like audiobooks and stuff. And and I love audiobooks, and it's because you can absorb information while you're doing something else. So for example, I have a family with young kids, so you know, at around say 6, 7 o'clock, I might be doing like dinner, getting packed lunches ready, whatever. I can have my phone on playing a book.
Ah, interesting.
So what they're saying is, I think there was I can't remember what the percentage was, but it's something like 76% of the people who are listening to audio are doing something else at the same time. But audio has a way of penetrating into your kind of subconscious. I think they kind of were talking about it like in a different way to what print can.
Yes.
So people who you're trying to get your information in front of but are hard to reach or busy or, you know, whatever, are more likely to be on audio in the coming kind of months, years, listening to things and digesting them more. So they're not having to, because the guy said to me, the guy that was doing the presentation at one point said, you know, how many of you you see an interesting article, like a blog, and I know I do this, and I think, ooh, but I can't read it right now, I'm going to bookmark it. And then I never get around to reading it.
No.
But he was saying, like, you wouldn't have to do that, because you would hear it and you're on the bus or whatever and you think, ooh, I could listen to that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's very clever. And I was talking to a friend last week because I don't have a home voice controlled device. And in fact, last night, I have to admit, I made a pact with my partner that we would never get one. But that's because I feel that I work faster than an Alexa, because I type incredibly quickly. So I feel, having experienced Alexa briefly, that I can get the information faster than the device can. But anyway, I was talking to a friend last week about this, and she said, and this horrified me, that they have 6 of these devices in there. There's 6 of them. So there's one in every room, and they've got them all networked, and they've got them all basically talking to each other. And she has 4 children, so there are 6 people in the house. So there's effectively one of these devices for each person. And I would imagine that we're only going to start to see more of that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I haven't got one. I was saying to my partner last night, I really think we might, you know, I might want one. And he was like, do you? And one of my friends has one. So I saw them in action a couple of weeks ago. And it really is impressive, the amount of information that you can get from them and the type of games and different things you can play. It's really quite interactive. Yeah. And I think, you know, they did give us, they said that audio is the fastest growing, was it the fastest growing kind of
media?
Yeah. It's the fastest growing, and it's only going to get bigger in the next 10 years. Yeah. So they said, try and think about it the way people were thinking about mobile, you know, because how many years ago was it where hardly anyone had a mobile browsing site? It was, you know, it was difficult. And now everybody has one. How long ago is that? Maybe 10 years ago, 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, less.
And they were talking about how like sites like the Financial Times are starting to change some of their articles into voice articles so that you can read it or listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're waiting for a commute, you're stuck in a long queue, or yeah. waiting for a bus in the rain, and you can just have your headphones in and be listening to it, which means you're obviously more alert than
Yeah.
So it was absolutely fascinating.
So if you're an indie brand, you're an indie beauty brand, and you're listening to us and you're thinking, what should I do next? Other than obviously associating sounds with your business and your brand, what else would you recommend?
I would look for avenues, for instance, where you could start doing adverts like this, because at the moment it's not been taken up massively because these things are in their infancy. So there is a gap right now for you to be on it. Yeah. You could be on it and ahead of the game, which means that not only would you be targeting your products to your target audience, because it's really, really easy to get the information about target audiences. Now, they didn't tell us where they had got the information from, but I do have some slides on my phone that I took photos of, and I might be able to do some Instagram stories linking you into some research places that did research on this. The presentation was done by Global, which own quite a few radio stations around the UK. And so you would be able to, as an indie brand, you would be able to really easily find your target audience. And get in front of them that in a way that you might not have been able to do before. So look at avenues of where you can advertise. Where would these adverts be placed? Like, what are the avenues that you could use? So you're thinking about sound, you're thinking about avenues, ways that you could make these adverts happen. And then I think it would, if you're not ready to do that, just having the information about your target audience and the times of days that they use products, the times that they're online, the type of content that they're consuming, could give you a lot of information about habits.
Yes.
And that information is going to be invaluable. Also, I think if you can get ahead of the game and start trialing this sort of technology and the way it works, people are also going to come to you for advice. And that is another way of networking and getting yourself out there. So
and
you need
seeing that, aren't we? We're seeing that in our podcast, because we launched our podcast in February after Gemma spent 6 months investigating what a podcast was. And, we've only done 8 episodes because we drip feed them out every fortnight or so. But my goodness, the reception has been amazing. We've already had over 16,000 downloads just with those 8 episodes. And it's only growing, because what we're seeing now is this, the base load of people consuming them every day is going up and up and up. And we now, when we're not publishing, we're still getting 100, 150 downloads a day. So it's growing and people are becoming more aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, another tip, get yourself on podcasts. Yep. Like, go and do research on iTunes, Stitcher, all the kind of Google. You can find out which are the new and noteworthy, the really popular ones. You can search by ratings, you can search by category. Have a look at what people are doing out there and see if you can become a guest on them. Yeah. I had someone recently that emailed about being a guest on ours, and it's not a brand I'd ever heard of, but I was like, looked at them and looked at what they're putting out. And I was like, yeah, that could work really well for us. So they had obviously gone and researched and listened because they knew what our podcast was about. And they pitched it to me knowing what we had talked about before. Yeah. So I could tell that they were, they'd listened and they were trying to figure out how they could, get on more podcasts, which is great, because I always like it when people approach us when they've A, done their homework, B, understand what we're about, and C, can tell me how they would make a good fit.
Yeah.
So, we're really busy. Sometimes I don't have the chance to go and, I have all these ideas about people we could have on, but I don't always have the chance to go and figure out ways that we could work together. But when someone approaches me and is like, hey, this is why I'd be a good fit, I'm like, yeah, that is, it's kind of taken the ball out of my court a little bit. Because they talked about podcasts in this, it was like a lecture, I guess. And they said it's kind of one of the least understood areas. But what they do know is that people listen to podcasts to broaden their knowledge on specific areas of where they want to broaden their knowledge.
Yeah.
So think about your skills and what you could offer. Think about what you could talk about. It might be your brand. It might be something else. It might be the reason why you started a brand. It might be, you might really like certain ingredients. You might have a passion for sustainability, whatever.
Yeah.
You could talk on a multitude of podcasts.
And if you're not comfortable talking, then practice, practice at home, record yourself, because we have had quite a few guests. Well, quite a few. We've had a couple of guests who've gone to pieces as soon as the microphone goes on because they're so nervous. So if you're not comfortable yet, just practice.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the idea of podcasts is it's supposed to be like a conversation, and it's supposed to be quite kind of informal. I mean, some are more formal, but so it doesn't, and obviously you're not normally on camera. People really freak out about being on camera, but podcasts are editable, so you record them and then we send them off to an editor who can cut sections out if you really muck up. And so it's another avenue to get your brand out there, and another avenue to connect with your audience. And people like people that have got opinions and can share information with them.
So Eliza's just commented and said, should we go on Facebook Live regularly? And I suppose,
yeah, why not?
Absolutely. Well, we're doing it, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because Lorraine and I were talking about someone that we knew that started a new business recently, and I was like, oh, I don't know how it's going. And Lorraine sort of said, oh, what's going on? And I said, well, they've only launched a couple of months ago, and they're doing really well because they jumped on media really, really quickly. Facebook Lives, Instagram, they were searching hashtags about what other people in that industry were doing. And they've really, really started to see, like, in a small time, like, quite a lot of people contact them about different things.
That's awesome. But that's being visible. And I suppose what you're talking about here is being audible at the same time.
Yeah.
You can combine the two with video, but sometimes people aren't watching a video. I suppose they just want to plug in their earphones and listen to it. Yeah.
And also another thing is that, podcasts and being visible opens you up to avenues of collaboration. And if there's one thing I've seen recently is that people love collaborating. And whether that be with people who you think is your competitors, or whether it's someone similar in the industry which just has a different angle than you, collaborations can really, really work massively. And if you're someone that's struggling with the concept of collaboration, I would encourage you to go and have a look. We went on a retail reconnaissance mission today. You can see all my
go on stuff. Instagram. Go follow
Instagram a lot. But one thing I saw was that, I mean, obviously we all understand like celebrity endorsements and those sort of things, but I'm talking about collaboration, which is a completely different avenue. And people might be listening to you or searching for different things and say, oh, I've heard someone talking about this. Maybe I can collaborate with them in this way.
Yes.
And that also raises brand awareness.
We have people approach us all the time like that, don't we? I mean, a lot of them haven't done their homework. So they say, hi, Formula Botanica, can you send me your products to review on my blog? And we're a bit like,
Which products is that?
We don't actually make them. But when people have done their homework, like the person you were talking about earlier, often we just go with it because we love people reaching out to us. And it may not work straight away. I mean, we have someone starting for us next week who reached out to us last year and said, love what you do, I want to collaborate with you. And that's so cool. And we said, okay, we can't do it right now, but we're going to get back to you. And here we are a year later, and they're actually going to work with us, which is so cool.
Well, Pete, that's another thing about being audible and being visible. You kind of, because the person that Lorraine's talking about, we would never have found them.
No.
Like naturally, it would have been a difficult, I wouldn't even known where to start searching for a person with a particular skill set. And they found us because we're constantly visible or talking. And they found us that way. I was talking with Linda from Wanderlusting yesterday, and she was saying like no contact is a bad contact. And so sometimes people contact you and you think, right, I'm in, I don't know, skincare, and they're in food. How could I make this work? But somehow, put your thinking cap on.
Yeah, absolutely. You can make some really good partnerships that way. So I suppose the moral of the story is just go and take some initiative and make yourself audible by using other people's channels that are available. And hey, maybe that will be the Formula Botanica podcast, even if you have the right story to fit us. But there are so many other channels out there, and go and have a look and see what's available.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope we've covered where people can start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's exciting. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to have an Alexa, but you will.
I will.
And so will billions of other people, no doubt. So this is a wonderful opportunity to get your brand in people's ears, and you can be ahead of the curve. And that's always exciting when you're ahead of the curve, because then people look at your whole company and think, wow, these people are something different and innovative, and they remember you for that. So yeah, try and make yourself a little bit different to everyone else, I think, is the moral of the story.
Yeah, and another thing that I forgot to mention that came out of this was that that voice searching is becoming more and more popular, and that is affecting how search engines function when they're searching for things. So I don't have a lot of information on that right now because someone just mentioned it in passing. I think it was Linda, actually. Okay. And so it might be worth having a look at that as well. If you're keen to embrace this kind of new technology, then have a look at how search engines are adapting to voice searching.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I suppose that's where search engine optimization then brings the audible element into it. Fascinating.
It's going to be massive. That SEO and audibility, or whatever you want to call it, it's going to be big. It's changing. Google already published stuff about it. It's which is the Google one? I can't remember. Not Curious Apple.
Someone.
So that's another interesting thing if you're trying to create like a digital footprint and you're trying to create digital awareness about yourself.
Yeah, go do it, and don't feel overwhelmed by it, because everyone feels slightly overwhelmed when you're dealing with something new. I mean, look at, we knew nothing about podcasts last year other than how to listen to them. Gemma went and researched. I think you spent $8 figuring out how to do a podcast in the end.
I did.
We didn't even have to do a training course for it, and spent several months trying to figure it out. And we pinged backwards and forwards and kept going, okay, so now what do we need? And in the end, we did it. And now it's just become almost routine. I wouldn't say we're quite there, but we're almost there.
We're figuring it out. It takes a while. I mean, I would say, you can do preparation, but at some point you just have to get on and do it. Like this morning when we were looking around loads of retail stores, I hadn't planned out loads of Instagram lives. I just got on and I did it because I wanted to share the information that was kind of coming at me while I was there. So there wasn't a lot of preparation. I didn't prepare my hair and makeup, and I didn't get the best lighting and the best angles. It's not perfect, but I thought, let me get on and talk to people as I'm here and as I'm, experiencing this place, so that you can give that information to other people, and hopefully they like it or they get something from it or whatever. So don't focus, obviously you need to be prepared, but don't overthink it.
Exactly, because it's better to be visible or audible than not to be visible or audible at all. And we see a lot of brands sort of sat there going, I can't show myself, but you've got to just do it. And then the more often you do it, the easier it gets. And the same is with putting your voice out there, basically.
Yeah, I know so I was with Catherine today from Upfront Consultancy, and she was telling me that she worked with a brand that had an oil that was retailing at quite a high price, and a blogger got hold of it, and she exposed parts of her body that she wasn't really comfortable with. So she'd had a cesarean section and everything, and so she was feeling kind of awkward, but she got out there, she showed herself. And then obviously the brand then gets in touch and was like, hey, we didn't know you were doing this, but this is amazing. And then their product sold out.
Wow.
So this is someone being visible, sharing something about themselves that was difficult, sharing parts of themselves that's not considered beautiful or pretty, or showing how she's trying to kind of make, and then this kind of amazing collaboration came of it. So don't be afraid to show yourself, I think.
No, or to let yourself be heard. And I think the other thing to mention is that every single person in the world, without fail, hates the sound of their own voice. Don't freak out when you first hear yourself, and don't sit there and go, oh my goodness, is that what I sound like? Because we all do it. So you just got to put yourself over that hurdle. Gemma's laughing because she's like, every podcast episode, Lorraine.
I know, I listened to it. I'm like,
Every person has that.
Yeah, I think we're hardwired to not like the sound of our own voice. I listened to a podcast on that, actually. That explained genetically there was some reason, I can't remember, it's got, so don't overthink those things, you know. Yeah, just get on, do it. You know, a couple of, well, I think about a week or so ago now, I had a really bad reaction to something I put on my face. And I was like, oh, I feel really awkward about showing what I look like. But I was like, you know what? People have reactions. People have eczema. People have acne. People have, you know, all sorts of things. I can't like not talk about what I'm doing and say, well, I can't show my face because, you know, people, that's what real life is, isn't it? Like,
and it's the same as your voice. So just don't be scared to put yourself out there. And yeah, everyone hates the sound of their own voice.
Yeah. And how they look on camera.
Yes, and how they look on camera. We won't watch this back. We'll just upload it to YouTube and then we're done.
Hope for the best. Hope people make nice comments.
Exactly. So let's wrap this one up then. So if you're interested in audio branding, or you have anything to say about it, leave us a comment, be that on Facebook where we've recorded this, or I'm going to upload it to our YouTube channel as well, because we'd love to hear your experiences. What are you doing? I mean, we've got a podcast, but have you considered going on one of these devices like an Alexa or an Echo or whatever they're called? We want to hear, and we want to see what other brands out there are doing, because you're inspiring everyone and you're leading the way. Yeah, and if you want to join the conversation, come over to our Skincare Entrepreneur Mastermind group on Facebook, where we have a big networking group with over 15,000 people at the moment. Although by the time you're watching this on YouTube, maybe we're up to many, many more. And yeah, follow us on Instagram, where Gemma this morning was doing lots of live stories. So at Formula Botanica, you can find us pretty much on any social media platform at Formula Botanica. But yeah, follow us on Instagram and you'll get all the latest gossip there as well. So thank you for sharing all your experiences, Gemma. That was awesome. Yes, and we look forward to hearing from you all soon.
We do.
Bye.
Bye.